From marketplaces to social media, there are so many places to sell online these days. But what often gets lost in that sea of options? Your homepage, the OG, your actual website. Turning that neglected home into a destination is the topic of today's show. Today, we'll hear from the experts, like Marianne Beckedahl, Senior Vice President of Business Development at BigCommerce. And we'll talk with Claire Easley, CEO and co-founder of Carbon 6, a men's jewelry and accessory brand. They'll give us tips on building your brand and creating an online destination, part of our small business video series. Hi everyone, I'm JJ Ramberg. Thanks so much for being here. We're going to get to our guest experts in a second, but first, we're going to hear from an Omaha-based business owner who has both a brick and mortar store and an e-commerce site, and she's going to tell us how she thinks about her online home. Take a look.
I'm Karen Bagley, and I'm the owner of K-Posh Boutique. Launched my website about 4 years ago. I did that for a few years until I opened up the brick and mortar store. I am basically the shipping department, I'm the marketing department, I clean the bathroom, I do the landscape outside, which really needs to get done, by the way. My target market really is moms, and moms these days, they want to look good, but they don't want to break the bank by doing so. Your website is definitely the face of your business. It's your first impression to your customers, but it's much more than that. The ease of going with a shopping cart provider is that it was very easy for me to create. Somebody that doesn't have any coding experience, I had a website in a matter of, an hour. I have a lot of inventory to keep track of, and the sales online and in-store, it's all in one place. The analytics that you can pull to determine where your customers are coming from, there's a lot that helps your business run smoothly. It's definitely worth it to pay for the shopping cart provider. You gain so much, not just a website, but all the back-end features that you get. I love having a store, but the website is for sure the nerve center of my business.
I'm pleased now to welcome Marianne Beckedahl, who is the Senior Vice President for Business Development at BigCommerce, a leading e-commerce platform for small businesses.
Thank you so much for having me. It's nice to be here today.
Oh, I'm so happy to talk to you. We just watched this video, and Karen in the video seems to have it right. She's selling a lot of places, but she is not ignoring her website.
We find that is absolutely critical. Consumers are shopping everywhere. We have done study upon study that shows that consumers, especially Gen Z, are shopping everywhere. So they're getting their inspiration perhaps from social media and marketplaces like Amazon or eBay. Then they're doing price comparison. Then they're checking out the brand's website itself to get that sense of brand security. Is this a legit brand? And that whole package drives sales for merchants far better than just being in one place or another.
Because it's tempting when you are small and just starting out to just worry about the place that you are selling. And maybe you don't want to worry about creating your own website. It feels time consuming and expensive, and you have to think about brand in a much bigger way. Do you find that?
We see a lot of that, and one of the great things about platforms like BigCommerce is that we've thought of all of that for the merchant. We wrap it all up for them, and there are tools that they can use when they're ready to take the next step. So for example, you can start selling on a particular marketplace and build up a decent business there, get a sense for pricing, product market fit, and the kind of customer you're going to attract. And then you can say, all right, I'm ready. I'm going to go build out my own website now. Then you can start paying attention to the front end, the experience, the loyalty program, how you engage with your repeat customers. And then you can say, great, now I'm ready for a social channel, for example. So having one central hub that can allow you to manage sales and to grow your business as it's ready is probably the best idea, the best way to go.
With limited time in your schedule, in your day, how do you decide how much time to spend on your own website when, frankly, it may not be the place that's driving the most sales?
So great question. I think merchants spend a lot of time trying to figure that out. The answer is kind of the same answer for any business. Follow the data. What is the data telling you? So if you can consolidate all of your sales interactions into one insights dashboard, you can then take a look and say, where do I need to spend time today? What's on fire? What's my burning priority? Platforms like BigCommerce have insights dashboards where a merchant can say, okay, wow, yesterday was a fantastic day with my sales on Amazon. Let me double down a little bit. Let me tweak what I'm doing on Amazon. Let me put some more products on Amazon. Or they can say, whoa, Amazon didn't have such a great day. Instagram is really taking off for me, or my own branded website is seeing a peak in sales. Using that data to drive how you spend your time and make your decisions is really the best way to run an omni-channel business.
How perfect does your website need to be? Because I think a lot of people stare at this, in essence, blank page, and they're just intimidated by it versus some other platforms where you can just put something up and it's a little bit more plug and play.
So there's that expression, perfect is the enemy of good. I think your website needs to be good enough to be productive and to drive sales. And I think there's this misconception that creating a website is really hard. But the minute you get into a platform like BigCommerce or any of the content platforms like WordPress that have made setting up a business really simple, you realize it is kind of drag and drop, right? So we've got hundreds of themes that a merchant can choose from to align their brand identity with the themes that we've created. We've already thought about all the productivity. We know which buttons to produce, what the buttons should look like for the call to actions, what should be above the fold, what's okay down the alley. We've done all that for the merchant. So fortunately for them, when they engage with a platform that's built for commerce, they can really focus on building and selling fantastic products and trust that we've built the framework for them to have successful sales online for them.
How much do you tell people to think about SEO so that when they go and someone searches in the search engine, I want, black sparkly shoes, you'll come up high?
SEO is critical. It's perhaps the number one maker or breaker of a dedicated online business. Any business, if it's a content business, a services business, a retail business, SEO is critical.
So when you're building your website, how do you know how to build it to maximize for SEO, to optimize for it?
Most regular merchants or small business merchants don't have the skills themselves or the savvy or a staff to optimize their SEO presence. So they have to look to the tools that are provided by their e-com platform.
Got it.
To manage their SEO. A lot of platforms have SEO tools built into the platform, so they kind of come with when you buy your monthly subscription to your e-com platform, and a lot of them even enhance that with third-party solutions that take it to the next level for you.
You're making this all sound so easy, right? There's so many small businesses out there who don't have websites. The way you're talking, it feels like just go onto a company like yours, BigCommerce, right? And drag, drop, put it all in, and it's done.
Yeah.
Is it that easy?
It's pretty easy. An example, last summer, my 12-year-old son built a website on BigCommerce and started selling sports equipment, and he built it within 2 or 3 days. That included setting up an account with the bank, getting his payments processed with PayPal, and going all the way through to, on the front end, visual merchandising of the products, through to the back end of processing payments, making shipping decisions, tax decisions, and selling products.
So there's really no reason someone shouldn't have a website.
Yeah, there's no reason. And
is it expensive?
There are a number of e-commerce platforms that cost under $30 a month. So I don't care what you're selling, $30 a month is a pretty great investment in building a brand presence, building a hub where you can then operate your omni-channel sales. It's a great investment in that customer journey and that experience with customers. And your own branded website creates an opportunity for loyalty, repeat purchases, gift cards, things that you just can't get in that one-to-one customer relationship. on the marketplaces and social channels.
I mean, look, the truth is, even if you don't have time to do any of that, you need a website because so many people hear about your company and the first thing they're going to do is go on the web and look to see what does your website look like and who are you and are you legit?
Absolutely, and we recently conducted a survey with 2,500 shoppers, and we found that 38% of the decision process was influenced by the branded website for the manufacturer. If you think about it, as a consumer yourself, would you ever hear of something or invest in buying something if you didn't first go to the website and see if they were legit?
If I'm a business owner and I start something on, let's just say Etsy, for example, at what point do I say, okay, I also need my own website?
That's a great question because Etsy is such a robust platform and there's such great merchandising that comes through that the Etsy team manages. I think that with Etsy, for example, and even other marketplaces, when you're ready to create more scale, when you're ready to handle more volume, that's when you should start thinking about having your own branded website for e-commerce as well.
What do you say to people who come to you and say, you know what, websites are a thing of the past. I just need to be on these social media marketplaces. That's where I sell. That's where I engage with my customers. I'm doing just fine.
I mean, one thing I would say to them is good luck with your business, but the reality is the data has shown over and over and over, the more places you put your product, the more you're going to sell. It's math. It's just simple math. The social media channels are fantastic for catching consumers when they're not necessarily shopping and presenting your brand to them in a very friendly environment. The marketplaces are fantastic because consumers go there to shop, they search, and they find your product. But if you also want to have a brand of your own and a relationship with customers that might actually get them to buy from you a second time, a third time, and perhaps for a lifetime, you really need to have your own branded site. And having all of those together and anywhere else you can possibly sell, pop-up shops, brick and mortar shops, shop-in-shops, the more places you put your product, the more you're going to sell.
And again, we talked about this, but again, this is the place where people go to really learn about you, really find out if you're legitimate, really understand the backstory.
Absolutely. And consumers today, I would say Gen X, Gen Z in particular, are very, very interested about who they're buying from. They want to know if the brand has a soul. They want to know if the brand has any kind of philanthropic activities. And the only place to really express that is through your own branded website.
Marianne, thank you so much. I am shocked when I look at the numbers of how many small businesses don't have websites. And so the thing I take away the most from this conversation is it's really easy and it's not that expensive and you put into it as much as you want, but you have to have something there.
Totally agree, 100%. Thanks for having me today. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Up next, CEO Claire Easley from Carbon 6 with first-hand expertise on creating a beautiful online home. But first, some tips from entrepreneurs from across the country. Back in a moment. Those were some great tips from small business owners, but now I'm really excited to introduce you to Claire Easley, who's the co-founder and CEO of Carbon 6, which is a Brooklyn-based company that designs and sells men's accessories. So good to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Well, you're basically my neighbor in Brooklyn.
In the best neighborhood in Brooklyn.
In the best neighborhood, but the reason you're here is because you also have a fabulous website.
Oh, thank you.
Can you just take me through the evolution of your website? When you started it, what did it look like compared to what it is now, and how robust was it?
Yeah, so that's a great question, because when you're starting a business, you're thinking about super basic things and you don't know what you don't know yet. At least I didn't. And so you're thinking about things like, what's a logo I can get that won't embarrass me? And where do I get my product photography and things like that? And at least I didn't think very much about what platform to be on or what it needed. So we actually started on a pretty small platform, and it looked pretty, but it didn't have a lot of functionality, but we didn't know yet that we needed all that functionality. So just before we launched, we actually switched to a much bigger platform with a more robust system, and kind of by chance, not even because we were brilliant and thinking about what we would need down the road. We just happened to move over to a different platform, and it was fantastic that we did.
When you say functionality, what do you need? What do you need out of your website?
So the things that we didn't realize yet that we were going to need were analytics, which I mean, you can't drive more traffic, you can't grow at a fast pace unless you know where your people are coming from, what kinds of things they're looking at. You need more analytics than you realize at the very beginning. Another thing you need is for it to tie in to different platforms. So it's so easy to just plug into something like Pinterest, for example. All of a sudden you can advertise, and it's so easy if it's just a plugin. Whereas if you're on a smaller platform or one that's not as robust, it's a whole thing. You have to hire a developer and get somebody to tie things in for you.
I think the big tension is between, when you're an e-commerce site, branding and selling.
Yeah.
So, do you use your hero picture as some beautiful picture that evokes some feeling,
Yes.
or is your top picture just trying to sell something?
That's an excellent question, and the struggle is real. And we've gone back and forth about it, but ultimately, we landed on the beautiful shot. And some people have told us that it's the wrong thing, and oftentimes we'll talk to people that just really feel strongly that you need to have as many products above the fold as you can get, and that's what matters, that's what's going to drive traffic. But for our brand, that's not what we found. For some people, that really works. But for us, what works is the beautiful shot.
So you've tested both.
We've tested both, yeah.
How do you drive people to your website?
We largely, it's paying for advertising on social media. We use Facebook pretty heavily. But also, we've been getting more into just finding different ways to connect to people and organically drive traffic. I feel like the secret is that today is really the day for people who have a story to tell and something interesting going on. And if you're doing something cool, then you can win if you can tell that story. So,
which is why a website's so great, because it gives you this place to tell that story, but you still have to get people there.
Yeah.
And it's expensive to have advertising on these social media channels.
Yes.
And do you look at it on a basis, do you look at it as an ROI, right? When I spend a certain amount of money on Facebook, let's just say, am I getting a positive ROI? Or do you say, okay, some of this is just for branding. Just want to get people to our site. I don't care if they buy anything.
Yeah, so it's not just money, it's time, right? It's expensive in both terms. Like, what are you spending your time on, and what are you spending your money on? Because, everybody wants to have this incredible social media presence, but that is an enormous amount of time. I also, we've got a business to run. I can't just look beautiful on Instagram, which is where the analytics come back in. Is you really want to have your eye on those numbers to see where your traffic is coming from, who's converting, and what it's costing you, both in terms of time and in money.
And when you advertise on social media or elsewhere, do you do a lot of deep linking into your website? And are you trying to get people to buy something, or are you trying to get them to just know who you are?
It's some of both, but at the end of the day, I mean, if lots of people are coming and no one's buying, it's not really helping us.
Right.
But there is also, I think, inherently in everyone is this want to connect to people. So even if no one buys anything, it's still nice to have a conversation. It's nice when people engage. It's nice if people we have a lot of people that write in just on social media and respond to things and say, that's really cool. Have you ever thought about doing this? And they don't buy anything, but it's fun to connect to people and to, continue a dialogue.
It's fun to know somebody is out there paying attention.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
As your company grows, do you think the website becomes more important or less important as you sell more and more in retail?
I think the bigger you're getting, the more important it is. It doesn't matter where you're selling, whether it's online or retail. Like this is something we knew from the very, very beginning, is that people need to know that they can trust you. There's a lot of places to buy things these days, and your website is really where people are going to come and look at you as though they're looking at the face of your company, right? Like, as humans, I think we look at each other's faces to see, like, can I trust this person? And that's what people are looking for in your brand. Like, can they trust you? Are you legitimate? Are you going to follow through on what you say you're going to do? Are you sincere in what you say your products are? And your website is always going to need to reflect that.
I think that's such a perfect place to end this. Thank you so much, and congratulations on all of your success. It's amazing. My thanks again to our guests today who gave us their tips and who reminded us how important our own websites are. I'm JJ Ramberg. Thanks so much for watching. Discover more videos and resources for small businesses at paypal.com/SMBmonk.